Hi there, welcome. I'm Dr. Kalyani Vala, a licensed clinical psychologist and mind-body integration specialist. In this next video, you're going to see me giving a little presentation about how to create your own intuitive tapping script. Full disclosure, I created this as part of a different program, but it was so good that I just wanted to capture the juiciness of it and still be able to share it with folks who weren't in that program. So it's gonna kind of cut right in, but I just wanted to be here to offer you a little context. It is going to focus on the theme of helping you create an authentic, dreamy life, but you can really apply the principles here that I show you about creating your own script to any topic that you like. I'd love to hear what you think. I'd love to hear how it works for you, and any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Enjoy. I wanted to come and talk about a little bit more how tapping supports us with that process of making the unconscious conscious. One of the ways that tapping really supports that in my clinical perspective is that you are tuning into what's going on mentally, the stories, the experiences. You're tuning into the emotions. What are you feeling? What are the potential barriers, blocks, if you will, to the thing that you are seeking? And we're accessing both the unpleasant emotions, to be fair, right? The blocks that I just named. We also want to be able to tune into, and this is how I'd feel if it arrived. This is how I'd feel, how I will feel when it gets here. And then we are tapping somatically onto acupuncture points that originate in Chinese medicine practice. So it's a really beautiful integrative tool that I think can be really accessible once you get to know it a bit. So what I'm here for is to demo and to offer some pauses for you to sort of insert your own script. To me, one of the best pieces of tapping is making it personal so that integration really happens at the level that you need. And so I thought I would sort of model how to go about that, how to make up your own tapping script. And I'm going to focus in on this theme of living authentically and accepting the self. That is a couple of the pieces that really resonated from my talk with Maria, and I want to offer some work on those to you here. So first things first, what are the tapping points? If you are unfamiliar, let me walk you through them. So we've got what we call the karate chop point right here, because you go, hi-ya. I don't do karate in case that's not obvious. So you're going to take one or two fingers and you'll tap on that point right here. You can really apply as much or as little pressure as helps you get into the rhythm. But we're not meaning to be like banging or poking or prodding here, right? You can be pretty gentle. I'll admit my pressure usually makes my bracelet shake, probably because I'm also pushing back with one hand. So make it yours. The next pieces start at the top of the head. Now I want to acknowledge some practitioners will show you how to do tapping just like with one hand on one side. Others might tell you to do bilateral both at the same time. Do what feels right. Experiment. I'm going to walk you through all the points, but you also don't even have to use all the points. Maybe the opportunity is like, oh, I got to be really subtle. I'm sitting in a doctor's office and I need to do a tapping script about my anxiety of going into the exam room. And so maybe what's easy in that moment is you are just gently, softly tapping in one spot. So just a little disclaimer, make it yours, even down to the order and the placement. So traditional tapping points, top of head, right around the crown, above the eyebrow, moving to the temple, underneath the eyes, be really gentle here, it's sensitive skin, beneath the nose, the chin, then the fleshy part just below your collarbone. So here's my collarbone, and then I'm just going to the fleshy bit right here. So I tap there. And then the top of the rib cage. So essentially where a bra strap would lay, but if you're unfamiliar, top of ribs on the side. And then taking the two wrists together and tapping as well. So those are the basic points. Now, the idea of the karate chop is that's where you set up the problem. So this is where you get to sort of rant, rave, let the consciousness flow, write the diary entry out loud, where you are sharing, okay, here's what I'm struggling with, here's all the ick and the crap. The analogy I often use is tapping lets us clean up a carpet, but first we have to like pull up the rug, so to speak, vacuum what's underneath, and then we get to vacuum the rug. So think of the karate chop point, the setup of the problem, as lifting up the rug, looking underneath, seeing what crap you got there that you need to get out. So as we're thinking about living authentically and practicing self-acceptance, maybe there's a part of us that finds that tough. So take a pause here. If it's tough for you, if you ever feel like something gets in the way of living authentically, or parts that you find it really hard to accept about you, things you're like, oh, that's just weird and I wish I didn't do it. Pause the video, jot those down. This is your story. This is what we want on the karate chop point. All right, so I'm going to come to it and offer an example. Take what resonates, leave the rest. Add, edit, make it yours, right? The goal here is for this to be a guide on how to intuitively and personally tap for integration. So, I want to live authentically so bad. It is one of my highest values. It is so important to me to live into my authentic self, my authentic being, to show up unapologetically as me, to live enlivened, full, embodied, excited, and satisfied. I want all those things. Heck yes, bring and give them to me. And sometimes I can't access it. I don't know when it's okay to show up as me. And when I'm unsure, when I'm uncertain, I do the opposite. I get small. I get scared. And then I'm moving away from the very thing that I want. Ugh. I wish that I could find an easier path. I wish I could more regularly step into me. I wish I could be less afraid. So pausing, letting that first layer of the dust integrate. Admittedly, I often feel like a buzz on the side of my hand after I finish that. When I take that integration breath, I kind of feel it moving through my system. So you can tune into those pieces as well, just a little invitation there. So that was a sample, right, of let's lift up the rug, let's acknowledge what we want, let's acknowledge like what's ugly about it. The ugly bits or the sticky bits I'll often offer to my clients is a way to give yourself permission to talk about the unpleasantness. And now we're going to move into starting at the traditional tapping points, beginning with the top of the head. And we're going to repeat some. We're going to acknowledge the problem. All of this wanting, all of this authenticity. And again, it's a little bit of a flavor of stream of consciousness, right? Just talk to yourself like you would talk to a friend if you were naming this problem. Naming what gets in the way, naming what you're struggling with, naming how you feel, naming what you want instead. So invitations here to notice, what is it that I want to feel when I'm living authentically? What would I be doing? What would people see me do? How would they feel about me? What goals would I accomplish? What would I do without apology, right? Think about the things that perhaps you normally pause on. You're like, oh, what will other people think? Getting all that out of the way would be doing it unapologetically, right? I'm showing up no matter what people say, good or bad. These are some guiding questions to help with the vision of what'll it feel like when you get there. And now, as you're writing those out, I'm guessing that there's a voice, a part of you that shows up that gives you all the reasons you can't have it, all the reasons you can't do it, the blocks, the barriers. So now, whether you're writing or typing this, start fresh, start a new column, new section, and give those voices some space. Let it be okay to acknowledge, okay, and this is what could show up. This is what could get in the way. And again, this is essentially what we are working with to tap it all the way through, right? To acknowledge the thoughts, experiences, to acknowledge the emotions, and then to integrate the body as well. So here comes the demo. All this authenticity, all this wanting. I want to be authentic. I want to show up as me. Ideally, I would show up as me all the time. I get that's not realistic, but I definitely want to show up unapologetically, authentically, enlivened, and aligned when it matters. I want to show up when it matters. So I'm going to take a break there. Hopefully I'll remember this is where I stopped. But just noticing the example there, right? I acknowledged the problem, so to speak, of I want to be authentic. Sometimes I can't. And I'm going to get into a little bit more detail on this next piece in terms of like what gets in the way. So here we go. Sometimes I have a really hard time not judging myself. So when I want to show up, when I want to be authentically me, I let all these questions in. I start to doubt. I judge myself like other people would judge me, but even before they've had a chance to. It's like wanting to ask someone a yes or no question, hoping that the answer is yes, but expecting a no. And then I don't even say it out loud. I don't even ask the question. And that's what happens with my authenticity. I'm so worried about whether other people will accept me that I end up rejecting myself. Sometimes that makes sense. It's less painful if I do it. And if I reject myself, then I save the pain of somebody else rejecting me. Because, oof, that would be painful. Yep, I'm pretty okay with that rejection. I don't like rejection. But in my effort to avoid rejection, I end up staying small. And when I stay small, I'm not being authentically me. I'm not enlivened. I'm not living into my big, passionate dreams. I'm essentially just rejecting myself. All right, I'm going to pause there. I feel the buzzing in my hand. How about you? So I want to download a couple of bits that happened there. There were a few moments where I caught myself making an argument in my mind for the thing I had just said. These are really key pieces of doing this in a personalized way, right? If you can kind of catch the argument that your mind begins to make and follow the emotional flow of that, follow the worry train of that, or follow the arguing against the worry of it, right? There was a moment where I caught myself saying, yeah, it's nice to just avoid rejection, but oops, when I avoid rejection from other people, I end up rejecting myself anyway. That's one that comes to mind. I think there were a couple different moments there where I felt the turn in my train of thought. So welcome that in, right? I also want to offer a disclaimer here for the part of you that might be saying, I'm going to mess it up. How do I do this right? You don't, / you don't mess it up. There's no way to get this wrong. Even as you are tapping on the points, you are doing good work for the body, right? You are allowing in some pressure on points that we know can be restorative, can help move energy through your system. And frankly, have you ever written in a diary and have you then crossed something out or inserted a word or misspelled something or ripped the page out? Permission to do that here too, right? You can erase, and start over when you want. You can try again an hour later, a day later, a week later. No tapping needs to happen the same exact way more than once. Just to say, I really love the idea that you get to let the words, the energy speak to how you're feeling in the day. Also want to offer a little tidbit. You probably heard my emotion match my words. This too, I think, is a really key piece of letting yourself express and uncover the ick. Let yourself let it out, right? So often we don't have a safe container to kind of talk about the ugly bits. So assuming that you're doing tapping in a place that is safe, private, secure, let it out. If your brand is swearing it out, do that too. I just want to make sure this video is family friendly, but I very often am letting all the expression come out in all the ways that it wants and needs to. Now, other tips I have for what train to follow when you're intuitively tapping. If you yawn, that's a really good sign you've hit something that the body needed to release, right? It's kind of that somatic cue. We can also sometimes have gurgling in the stomach, like our digestion is moving. That might be a more delayed response. I would say yawning is a pretty big tell in the moment. So personally, if I yawn, I'm like, oh, that's a sign I really caught on something. I might just repeat the same line a few times across different points. Or I'll really hone in and say okay, is there another thing? What can I follow from that to really unearth this? Again, keeping in mind that this is a process that integrates over time. It's not as if we're going to wave a magic wand and heal a stuck belief in one session, right? That's not the expectation here. So how to close, right? That middle process that I just offered, you can do that for as long as feels right. The invitation is to always close with a component of explicit love, compassion, self-acceptance. So oftentimes I will pair this with a sense of, even when I don't get X, Y, or Z exactly right. So for instance, in this scenario, we're talking about accepting myself, rejecting myself, and getting small. So I might say, even when I feel small, or even when I don't show up, or even if I reject myself first. These are just samples, right, of what you might say. And then we close with, I deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself. Always sealing it in with your breath. Now, you can change up some of those words, right? Love and accept are the ones that I hear repeated the most from all the teachers that I have experience with. And The deeply and completely, I would say, are also like pretty robust in the phrasing, right? So I deeply and completely love and accept myself. You can swap those things around in the spirit of it, but the point is to sort of offer yourself that really big unconditional love bid. So no qualifiers in that part of the sentence, right? Not, I sometimes love and accept myself, or maybe I can be nice to myself. You can absolutely say in the course of tapping, maybe I can be nice to myself. That is welcome. But when it comes to this finisher, the finisher needs to be, again, unconditional, big mama hug, like, you got this. Okay? So, I hope that is helpful. I hope it inspires you, and I hope that you're able to take some of these guided questions to live more authentically, embodied, and unapologetically. Thank you.